just because we sit in church on Sunday morning doesn't mean that we have a relationship with God. And that's what really matters. That's what we're talking about today, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Coloring Through the Bible. My name is Keegan Harkins, and I think when I was 8 years old, I was listening to a Keith Green record with my mom, and there's a song on there where he says, going to church doesn't make you a Christian any more than going to McDonald's makes you a hamburger. And I have never forgotten that. It's been in the back of my head for the rest of my very long life. I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was, but it is something that I think about all the time. And Sunday we were actually talking about this in church, and so it just kind of renewed this thinking. And I was drawn back to John chapter 7. This is where we are told that Jesus' brothers, now there is no question that Jesus had brothers. You know, it doesn't really matter whether your view is that Joseph had children and was much older than Mary and a widow when he married Mary, or if Mary and Joseph had children after Jesus. That doesn't really matter. The point is, Jesus had brothers that had grown up with Jesus. They grew up in the same house. And we're told in John chapter 7, in verse 5, we're told, for even his own brothers did not believe in him. Talking about Jesus. Even his own brothers didn't believe in him. And these were men who are adults now, because Jesus is an adult now, who have grown up watching Jesus grow up. And obviously there were some signs to Jesus' divinity, even as a young child. You know, it didn't just turn on when he was 32 and started his public ministry. I mean, think about it. His first miracle was changing water into wine, but he did it at his mother's request. So obviously his mother had absolutely no doubt that he could do it, or she wouldn't have told him to do it. She didn't even give him an option. He's like, you know, Mom, now's not my time. And she just looked at the servants and said, get whatever he needs and get it done. You know, I love it. Classic mom style. But there was something in his childhood that reaffirmed in her mind that he could do it. And so there were obviously clues as Jesus was growing up that he was the Son of God. And his brothers still didn't believe in him. He didn't keep his beliefs quiet. You know, even at 12 years old, we hear that Jesus says, you know, I have to be about my Father's work. So he had never, you know, tried to hide the fact that he was the Son of God, that he had a purpose on this earth, and that it wasn't, you know, to go into the family business to be a carpenter. So his brothers knew Jesus intimately, in a way that none of us can even understand. They saw the humanity part of him, they saw the divine part of him, all rolled up into one, and they didn't believe in him. You can't get any closer to the throne of God than being the brother of Jesus. And yet, they didn't have a relationship with him. And imagine when we think that we can just show up on Sunday morning and spend an hour sitting in a pew and maybe not pay attention to the sermon, maybe not connect to God through praise and worship. And we think that that's enough to make it through our day. We think that's enough to solidify us so that we can wear the name badge that says Christian. But it's not. It isn't about where we are physically in relationship to God. It's about where we are mentally, spiritually, and in our heart, emotionally connected to the Lord. Being a Christian isn't about what building you go to. You know, there's a lot of needless fighting between the different congregations of churches. There's a lot of division between whether you're Protestant, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Episcopalian, whether you're, you know, evangelical, whether you're whatever. Are you Pentecostal? Are you a quiet, more reserved worshiper like a Lutheran? Are you Baptist? None of those things matter. What matters shouldn't be all those little tiny sub-labels, just the big label, Christian, child of God. That's the only label we need. That's the only one that matters. The rest are just divisions of how you worship, how you connect with God. Because you need to find a place where you're going to grow. You need to find a place where you're going to just really connect with God. And some people connect in exuberant worship. Some people connect in quiet reverence. So you find the place that helps you draw closer to God. But that shouldn't be what's most important to us. You know, belonging to First Street Baptist or 7th Street Evangelical, or even Baptist to Baptist, or Lutheran to Lutheran, or Catholic to Catholic, there shouldn't be a division between the church. Because where we sit our butts on Sunday, or Wednesday night, or Saturday night, does not make us a Christian. Jesus' brothers sat across the dining table from the Son of God day in and day out, and yet their hearts did not have a relationship with him. And we can do that too. We can sit in a church for 40 years and never know the one for whom the church was built for. What's important is our personal relationship. We can't just rely on the fact that we taught Sunday school for 40 years or we never missed a Sunday of church. None of that matters to God. What matters to God is your heart. So I just wanted to encourage you today. I just wanted to point out that a lot of the people who were surrounding Jesus missed it. You know, in the last video we talked about in John chapter 6, verse 66, how from this time many of his disciples turned back and no longer followed him. And now we're talking about how his own brothers mocked him and didn't believe in him. These are disciples, brothers. See, just because we say we are a Christian doesn't make us a Christian. So I want to challenge you today to go deeper than the label that you wear. Have a deeper relationship than just the name Christian or follower or disciple. Be a child of God in heart, in spirit, in truth. Don't just warm a pew. Don't just follow a movement. Don't just sing in the choir. Get to know your God. Believe in him. Trust him. Take that relationship 5 steps deeper until you're so in love with God that you are a hamburger for Christ. That's kind of a dorky analogy, but you know, I hope that it made a little bit of sense. The important thing is your heart, not where your tushy sits on Sunday. So I hope you've been encouraged. I hope you have a fabulous day. And until we see each other again, have a truly blessed day.